Good morning. A few weeks ago, our village board refused to enforce vaccine mandates, and I requested information from Cook County. Specifically, I asked for data that required asking two questions for each case: hospitalization and death. Was the individual vaccinated or not, and was the person previously infected by COVID? It turns out that this information was being tracked by the CDC, California, and New York for cases, and by the CDC and California for hospitalizations. The initial results of this study were released 2 days ago by the CDC, and I feel it is important to share this information so that you can include it in your decision making with your doctor. In California, relative to an unvaccinated, uninfected person, a vaccinated person was 9.3 times less likely to get infected. A person who previously had COVID was 26.5 times less likely to be infected, and a person who had been infected with COVID and was vaccinated was 33.8 times less likely to be infected. In New York, those numbers were 6.3, 16.3, and 18.8 times less likely to be infected than someone who was unvaccinated and uninfected. The study also compared those who previously had COVID to vaccinated individuals that were uninfected. In California, those who had COVID and were not vaccinated were 3.3 times less likely to be infected, and those with COVID and vaccinated were 4.2 times less likely to be infected. In New York, those numbers were 2.9 and 3.4 times less likely to be infected as shown. The CDC study also looked at hospitalizations in California. Relative to an uninfected, unvaccinated person, a vaccinated person was 26.5 times less likely to be hospitalized. An unvaccinated person who previously had COVID was 45.4 times less likely to be hospitalized. And finally, a person who was vaccinated and had COVID previously was 58.8 times less likely to be hospitalized. This study also showed that a person who was unvaccinated but had COVID was 1.8 times less likely to be hospitalized than a vaccinated person, and a person who both had COVID and was vaccinated was 2.3 times less likely to be hospitalized than a person who had only been vaccinated. It is important to note that this study was done from May to November of 2021 on the Delta variant and does not include Omicron data. Also, the data shown here is an average of the weekly totals. Finally, this is very important data on natural immunity that has been previously unreported. Because this did not include Omicron data, I took the time to compare recent cases when Omicron was extremely prevalent. This comparison looks at cases before and after December 14, 2021. As you can see, the cases by age follow similar trends both before and after December 14th. Additionally, these graphs show that Omicron is highly contagious, something we have all known for several weeks. Fortunately, the data from this time frame also shows that Omicron is much less deadly with a much lower case fatality rate, something we also have known for several weeks. I do, however, want to note that since December 14th, the case fatality rate of those over 80 is 5,285 times higher than for children under 20. It is clear that while Omicron has a lower case fatality rates, COVID remains particularly dangerous for older persons in our community. I felt that it was important to share all of this data to help you in consultation with your physician to make the best decision for yourself. The approach we have taken as a board in Orland Park is to keep you informed and let citizens and businesses make decisions for themselves. The board feels that this is a better approach than the coercion and mandates espoused by the president, the governor, and the Cook County Board president. The case rates in Orland Park indicate that our approach has worked very well, even with an older than average population. I hope everyone has a great weekend, and I pray that the recent trends indicating that we are on the backside of the Omicron curve continue. Thank you.